So today we're going to be chatting a little bit about port security. Effectively, the question is, what happens when you end up in a situation where a user daisy chains one switch into another? Let me give you an example of what my desktop looks like right now for the lab. Here we have a regular access switch, which is an older Cisco switch here, and I have a D-Link kind of cheapy off-brand $10 special from Best Buy, daisy chained into fast Ethernet 01. What could happen here is people could end up in, if you've misconfigured your switches, you could end up with spanning tree loops. You could end up with devices on your network that are being used to enumerate and find data and scan and basically hack your network. And of course, people could just be plugging in things that waste your bandwidth. So generally you want to control what people are plugging in. You might actually want them to daisy chain a computer and a phone, maybe a computer, a phone, and a fax machine. There may be a small switch in the office that allows 20 devices, but you do want to control that number so that people aren't just manipulating the network whenever they feel like. So I want to kind of pop in here, and I'm on this is just a Cisco switch. I think these go for about, I think it's a, let's see, 3550. They go for about 40 bucks on eBay. All right, so I'm going to go show MAC address table interface FA01. I have one device currently connected, and let's just say that's acceptable in my network. We have one port, one device, no daisy chaining allowed. So I need to prevent daisy chaining. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this into my notes here real quick. So I'm just going to, so we have that MAC address ready for the future. Now I'm going to go ahead and prevent additional devices from coming in. So let's go config T, interface, fast Ethernet 01, and switch port mode access. Just make sure this can't become a trunk. And then switch port security. So I'm going to go look at the options on here. What we can do is we can actually set a maximum number of MAC addresses that can be learned off a port. So I'm going to go maximum. I'm going to say 1. This isn't going to impact us in any way because we have one device, but it's going to prevent additional devices from checking in. Now we need to give it an action for when something does go wrong. What is the violation? What is going to happen? We have 3 terribly documented options: protect, restrict, and shut down. As you can see, this is probably the most useless help file ever. What is the difference between protect and restrict? Well, the answer is Google knows, but I went and grabbed a really good picture off Google earlier. Basically, protect will all 3 levels will not forward traffic. Forward traffic, no. But if we look over here, actually giving us some indication that it happened, sending a syslog message, sending an error message, increasing a counter. These go to your monitoring systems, your Splunk, your Orion, your Kiwi syslog, whatever you're using. So we need some kind of indicator. Having a system block traffic without any indicator is not necessarily ideal for most situations I can think of. So you at least want to select restrict, where the new traffic is going to be blocked, and emphasize on new. The first MAC address getting in would be allowed by default. And it would give us some indicators. Now alternatively, you could have a very hardened environment where any change would be a sign of someone actively trying to exploit your network. So you'd want to immediately shut everything down. Now let's learn how to do that real quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and say restrict here. Boom. Finally, we can do port security, aging. Want it to age by time? Sure, whatever you want to set. You can poke with these all you want, but basically, I don't know, we're going to age out a MAC address every 20 minutes. Now here's a weird thing about this command. To enable it, you have to put no options on, hit enter. And since it's an older Cisco switch, a shut and then a no shut to re-enable the port. Okay, it's going to slowly come back up. Now I'm going to bring the device that's actually off that port, which is a virtualized Windows host. So we're going to go ahead and ping just to generate some traffic, make sure things are going. Cool. And then we're going to back out and show MAC address table. And then we just want the interface 01. We don't care about the other interfaces on this box. Nothing showing yet. Let me generate a little more traffic. Give it a second. We did just wake it up, to be fair. Huh. Well, that's interesting. This has never happened to me with my port security. Should just work. Oh, there it goes. That was strange. Maybe it was something about the startup process. 5F50, 5F50. Yeah, that's the one. So you saw it here first, folks. Little delay in the data getting into that lookup table. Cool. Anyway, so it seems to be doing what we expect it to do. But what happens when we start plugging additional devices in? So I have a Linux box sitting right next to me. I'm just going to go ahead and plug that into my daisy-chained D-Link switch. I think I saw them for about $10 when I bought this about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. I was definitely living at my old house. So, all right. So I'm just going to let that guy fire up. I see the indicator blinking. And we'll generate a little traffic on that guy, but as we just learned, that takes an extra second. And there it is. Security violation popping up. But just because it gave me an indicator, does that mean it actually blocked it? Well, let's find out. Didn't let it in. But as we saw before, it did take a while for it to appear in there. So why don't we wait 30 seconds, 40 seconds, just to kind of be sure. While we're waiting for that to happen, this generates a little more traffic on this Windows box. And what we're kind of waiting for that to do, let's just go into config T. And then I just wanted to show you one more option on there before I forget, and that's interface F0. And then we're going to go switch ports, port security, and then if we need to statically assign a MAC address, we can actually paste that in here just by pasting the MAC address from earlier. See, look, people say I don't plan, but yeah, I remember to copy paste that. Paste that guy in, and boom. It's already seen that one, part of its detection process. Another way we could have done this is to have enabled, that error message. I'm just going to clear that error message in a second. That's just annoying me. But let's go back and look at the MAC address table real quick. MAC address table interface FA01. Boom. Still only one device in there. So I'm going to unplug it just so those messages go away. But I did want you guys to see the show run here. We have our interface 0. We notice there's no MAC address actually in there. It's kind of strange, right? Nothing in here, nothing in here, nothing in here. Right now it's kind of dynamically being stored. That's not necessarily what we want. So let's do this one more way. What we could do, right now as it's working, when it gets a new MAC address, the first MAC address, it's first come, first serve. That is now the permitted MAC address. Possible you don't want that behavior. Most likely you do. People are going to turn their PCs on in the morning and then later in the day try and plug other things in. That's what that solves. But it's very possible you might want to hard code stuff, which is where I started going there for a second. Switch port, port security, question mark. All right, we're looking at, where to go? MAC, right? There it is. MAC address. What we could do is pick sticky, where it picks the first one that comes in, and it will actually save that. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch port security. Got to re-enable it again and shut. Boom, and no shut, which I believe was the reason we had that delay earlier. This shut no shut takes a few seconds for it to complete its process. Cool. Let's generate some traffic over here on our Windows box. Why don't I just put a little dash and ping this indefinitely. There we go. Now let's just kind of work our way back down. Make sure we see this in the show MAC address table. I believe that's interface FA01. So I see it. Let's do a show run. Now we see the MAC address actually in the config. See that guy right there? So let's queue out. Now if I do a copy run start, save this configuration, this permitted MAC address is actually hard coded in. So you couldn't plug something else in if you want to. Now the way this is used in sort of more dynamic and more advanced environments is where these configurations might actually have every permitted MAC address inside your Git configuration management system pushed down by something like Puppet or Ansible or even Cisco ACI, I guess now is where the cool kids are. So that anytime you guys provision a new MacBook Pro or a new Windows workstation or a new server, it gets entered into your asset system and then updated automatically on all of your switches so that you guys can permit things. Anyhow, I hope that helps you with understanding this basic port security. Hit me up if you have any questions on that, guy.